sitting in on the first half of the meeting just to kind of, she may or may not have the pleasure of doing this job someday. She wanted to just kind of check it out, but she's going back to her real job.
She had enough.
Yeah. So, John, do you have a copy of Note 45? Handy? Kevin, I'm sorry.
Kevin there?
All right, Kevin, you still there?
I have a copy of the note.
Yeah, do you have a copy of the note handy?
Front of me, yeah.
Oh, why don't I give you a minute? Well, unless you have it, because that's kind of, I wanted to discuss that a little bit, see if we can get some sort of resolution.
And I'll get my copy of it.
Yeah, so no big. And John, yeah. You said you wanted a copy. So
Yeah, thank you.
won't even charge you for it.
This price and then this price.
You can probably see where I'm going with it. So, Kevin, when you're back. And just, well, when Kevin gets back, or maybe he's hearing me, but I had this scheduled until noon, but I got the room, I got the phone. I just want to, I'd like to get this done by noon. I have found personally that with long second reviews, you hit this point of diminishing returns, and frankly, nothing gets accomplished. So I still want to shoot for noon. But if we go a little bit, my point is, if we need to go over a little bit, especially if it's like, man, another 10 minutes and we can wrap this thing up, no problem with, at least from my end, there's no problem with going over. I just want to let everybody know that. Kevin, are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, great. Everybody's here. So, and I have not approached John about this, so I don't know what his reaction is going to be. But before I approach John, or before we let John give his opinion, part of the reason I want to look at Note 45 is I just want to refresh my memory of it. And let's see, in your recommendation number 10, in engineering, I'm reading the last sentence. An engineering geologic report specific to the THP area shall be prepared by a California licensed CEG and in general accordance with CGS Note 45. Do you think if I asked John or Mr. Harkin, he's here, he's going to really have the final decision. If I asked them to do that and they agreed, and so this note is prepared now, whether they hire a CEG, I don't know who they hire, I'm not going to get into that, but they hire a CEG to prepare, basically fulfill recommendation number 10. Is that going to satisfy you? I mean, I guess what I'm concerned about is so they come back and, you know, what you consider slides, they're going, no, it's our professional opinion, those aren't slides. I don't want to ask them to do something that's still going to continue
Well, let me put it
to
this way.
cause problems.
I could pick several geologists' seeds that would probably agree with me.
Oh, no, that's just, again,
It's really, what we want is a standalone document particular to the timber plan, not geotech studies that were done for the previous development and the current proposed development. We want a standalone document that is prepared particular for this timber harvest plan that is yet to be done yet.
okay, and correct me, I'm sorry to cut you off, correct me if I'm wrong, and Dave, you too. It is my unprofessional opinion, meaning by not being a CEG, or anything even remotely in the county, so to speak. But I would think the stuff that's done for the development kind of goes above and beyond what we would expect for a timber harvest plan.
Yeah, except that they, you know, again, they haven't looked at these LiDAR maps or anything, you know, and I think that's really telling. A lot of the mapping being used
Well,
You know, this is really literally, you can't see the forest through the trees. A lot of our mapping allows us to do that. So,
they could provide an updated report that is more tailored towards, the timber harvest plan.
And I'll be frank, guys, that's
then-
where I'm leaning.
And doing an updated report could, you know, look at the most recent data, including the LiDAR.
And that's, and honestly,
you know, again, you said go above and beyond. I want to note again that they did not recognize the large landslide that was mapped by Mark Delatria CGS that extends into the plan area. So to say it goes above and beyond, I don't agree with that.
well, no, but okay, I just meant, you know, I'm sorry, not being a geologist again, that to me gets back to a professional disagreement. And maybe the reason they didn't map it is because in their opinion, as a CEG, it was not a landslide. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It could be the opposite, you're right, they could have missed it. I don't know. But my question though, still, and I looked at Mr. Harkin, let him know I'm leaning towards having them do what you're asking for, which is to have a geologist prepare a report specific to the THP that follows the general guidelines, you know, that uses Note 45 as their template for how to prepare this report. In looking at it, and I have to be honest with it, I hesitate to ask landowners to do things that are going to cost them more money, because this is not a cheap process to begin with, but it's also the cost of doing business. I don't, if I ultimately decide to ask you to do this, I don't think it's, at least I hope it's not a deal breaker on your end. Where are you going? Well, you know, anyway, I need to watch myself. But what I was getting at more, Kevin, for you is, before, I'm leaning this way, and in looking at the note itself, it seems like there's a lot of this stuff that the work's already been done. So, you know, it's not like whoever Mr. Harkin hires is going to have to start totally from scratch on this, and that is, I'll be honest with you, that's influencing my decision a little bit. But before,
I would be opposed to that, but that's their decision.
pardon me?
I wouldn't be opposed if they started from scratch with somebody new.
Well, I'm just looking. Well, no, I'm not even going to go there. They got, you know, if that person's got a license number just like you, just like me, you know, I'm not going to go. That person's not acceptable unless you can show me the Board of Consumer Affairs or whoever regulates geologists. This person's license is on probation or something, or unlicensed for them. Anyways, again, I don't want to start chasing rabbits. I just meant, you know, there's a lot of this information here, you know, that is available in the plan, that is available in the EIR. So,
let me speak to that too.
actually, I'd like to finish up, John.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
But before I ask Mr. Harkin to foot the bill on this, I'm going to use that large landslide as an example. I mean, what happens if they get another CEG to go out there, and as Dave pointed out, they're going to have what I expect them to have in their hand, what I hope that they have in their hand. They're going to have the THP and the EIR, and anything that even remotely has to do with geology that they're going to be reviewing. They're going to be reviewing Kevin's reports, and they're going to be reviewing Kevin's preliminary map. So they're going to have all that information there, and they go out there and they go, you know, Kevin, or, you know, water quality, I disagree with you. I don't think this is a slide. I'm not asking you to tell me right now, well, fine, if that's what they say, that's what they say, but I just want to be sure that you're gonna go, okay, you know what, they did what I asked, they looked at this specifically for the THP, they had my information, the stuff that I thought was slides, they still came back and said no. Again, it's that professional disagreement. I just want to, before I ask Mr. Harkin to take this step, I want to be sure that if I ask him to get somebody to do this in accordance with Note 45, to use Note 45 as the guideline, is that going to address basically I believe that would address recommendation number 10, but will that address like you said, one of the two primary overarching issues for water quality in terms of this plan? Just, you know, has the geology of the area been adequately evaluated? Is there adequate disclosure to know what's going on, and to be sure that the timber operations, and I do want to stress that the timber operations will not result, there's no reasonable potential for an adverse impact.
Well, if that's what they conclude, and we'll have to obviously see what they say, I would probably be fine with it, but that hasn't been done yet, so it's kind of hard to say.
Okay. Well, that's where I'm leaning, gentlemen, unless you can really make a good argument. I mean, because I'd like to say one more thing, before you, Mr. Harkin, before you make a response. Kevin, you mentioned this in one of our one of our email conversations, that water quality, under the circumstances, based on, before second review, but based on the RPF response, water quality is considering non-concurring. Part of what I'm hoping that if Mr. Harkin were to agree to this, that potentially takes a non-concurrence issue off the table.
Well, we have to get into the water course stuff too. And
Oh, no, I said an issue. I did not say non-concurrence entirely. Yeah, I forgot. Thanks. We haven't even gotten to the water courses yet. But that would take care of this issue. And the reason I brought up the non-concurrence, and I explained to Mr. Harkin prior to our meeting, he was just asking about the general process, and I'll go over this a little bit again for everybody else, but if the plan gets recommended for approval, it kind of goes down this road. However, if there's public comment on the plan, which this plan does have, it goes down, the second road, and if there's a non-concurrence, well, there's another road it kind of travels down. So, anyways, guys, I'm leaning, not leaning, I'm pretty much, unless you can give me a really good reason not to, I'm gonna ask you guys to get your CEG out there with this in hand and provide this information. In terms of how it affects the overall review of your plan and the timeline there, I would consider, when we get to it, second review will stay open pending this additional information. When you get this back in, Kevin looks at it, Dave looks at it, I look at it, but then, we meet back here again. But I think that this is going to be the best way to resolve the issue from water quality's perspective. And I will say I have a lot of respect for Dave. It sounds like CGS, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but it sounds like CGS is going, well, that's not, that given water quality's concerns, this seems like a fair way of addressing the issue. I mean, because right now it really comes down to what I've heard here today is Dave has one opinion, Kevin has another. They're not completely diametrically opposed, and just the other one saying the other one's totally wrong, but there's still enough disagreement there. I mean, again, differing professional opinions. That I think this is a way to, under the circumstances, to reasonably take care of this particular issue. We still haven't touched water courses, so we'll get there hopefully shortly.
Sure, no, I understand your point is made. I guess the couple questions that I would have is, I guess first and foremost, as Dave has brought forth in his report, that he had no ongoing issues, that we've addressed that. And so, as noted, we have water quality, obviously, in disagreement with the state geologist's professional opinion. And so I guess the question ultimately is, if we proceed with providing more analysis that I guess could possibly be useful. I'm not a geologist, so I can't say heads or tails, but I guess if we could produce this, and again, Dave concurs that we've met the marks here, how do I know that water quality isn't going to continue to defer or have arguments against an additional report, especially if the work product, the substantial work product, has already been produced.
Yeah.
We're basically just recapturing it and putting it in a different silo with another bow on top of it.
You don't. From water quality, and Kevin, I'm going to give CAL FIRE's perspective, or how CAL FIRE is going to react, how I will react, and then Kevin, you can speak to how water quality may react. Assuming you do this, I can tell you CAL FIRE, I will not ask for another report. I think that at that point you've satisfied you satisfied what water quality specifically asked for in recommendation number 10, that this report be done in, I can't think of the right word, I don't want to say compliance, in accordance.
Adherence.
Adherence to, yeah, I mean, as Dave pointed out, this is not required by the rules, so I realize I am asking you to do something above and beyond the rules.
Correct.
But, so if you do that and provide it, and then of course I will ask Dave's opinion, and if Dave goes, yeah, you know, this looks good to me, I mean, there's no, and by looks good to me, not necessarily I concur with what the geologist is saying, although that would be nice too, but he goes, hey, you know what, I see no holes in this thing, it appears that the geologist who prepared this report followed the note, you know, everything, you know, I have no, then I can tell you that unless Dave or someone were to come to me and go, this note has got some glaring holes, you know, this is, or this is just a flat out misstatement, you know, this is just flat, you know, something glaring like that, I will not be here a couple Thursdays from now or whenever and going, almost there.
Right.
But I guess another one.
Can we then we could
So now it's
agree
up to water quality.
so long as again, if we were to provide this, because again, it's above and beyond what the requirements. But if we were to try to make everybody happy here to take this extra step, I guess could we agree that so long as Dave and his department believe that the report is satisfactory, that this issue is resolved and finished?
I can only speak for CAL FIRE. Because, and here's, this
I guess
goes,
then they did let Dave interject.
So, the proof is in the pudding, and earlier you made a statement that if you went through this extra step, basically you're taking data that